All right, everyone. Welcome to Bleav in Bills. Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live, Buffalo, Sal Maiorana, Rochester, Democrat and Chronicle. As always, Friday here, as the week that free agency officially opens, and we got a little ground to cover with the Buffalo Bills. Some of this will be repeat from our last show, but Sal, key areas of need. We thought they'd go defense in free agency, and they've certainly done that, haven't they?
Yeah, look, I know fans were kind of impatient there when the bell rang at 4:00 and they really hadn't been linked to many guys. D. Alford was really kind of the only guy they were linked to before the actual periods, the signing period started. But, you knew they had a plan, and I think they've executed it pretty well, Adam. It started with acquiring DJ Moore in the trade because wide receiver is obviously the hot button topic. So I think they made – we talked about that. The second round pick felt a little heavy. We'll see where it goes in the next 6 weeks. And then come the draft, can he recoup that pick if they maybe trade out of the first round and get it back? But for now, it's a little bit of a price to pay. But DJ Moore is a good player, and he's number one on the depth chart for receiver. So that was the first move. We've talked about Conor McGovern, which might be the most important move they make on the offense, quite frankly, at least until the draft. And then they started with the defense here. We'll talk about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in a second. D. Alford is sort of the replacement for Taron Johnson at slot corner. He's not going to play as much as Taron did in the past, but that's a move they had to make, another hole that they had. And then obviously getting the safety, there's been talk the Bills might have done safety in the first round of the draft. There's a couple of kids there that might be available at 26. And instead they go the way that I think they should have gone, Adam, get a veteran, because you've got a third-year guy now in Cole Bishop. Right. Give him another veteran like he had with Jordan Poyer, only not a 35-year-old guy like Jordan Poyer. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a very good player. He's got quite a journey in the NFL, which we're going to get to here in a second. But I like the move on a one-year contract up to $6 million, but I'm sure that's not even close to what his cap number is going to be. It looks like a pretty sound move, but you can give me your opinion, and we can start debating on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Well, the biggest thing that stands out to me, and I'm all about the one-year contract for a guy like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's made this is what Bean has been doing lately. He's been doing a lot of one-year contracts.
Right. Well, the two things actually stand out to me with this move. And I think, sort of in the bigger picture, look, it's evident there's a new sheriff in town, right? Mm-hmm. With this move, because this is not the type of player that Sean McDermott would look to acquire. Right. He's been mouthy in the past about how he's been used, that sort of a thing. So that's the biggest thing. It's obvious there's a shift that's taking place here. And then within that, in terms of what he's able to do, and Alford fits this description as well. But this guy brings versatility, right? Yep. There's a lot of versatility. They need him at the safety position, but he can do a lot of things. And it strikes me, and I've heard this said also, where Jim Leonard, the new defensive coordinator, doesn't necessarily expect players to fit a certain description in terms of an actual position, literally, right? He likes guys that have that versatility and can morph into various schemes and that sort of a thing. So I think it also illustrates kind of what Jim Leonard is looking for here as they rebuild this defense under him.
Yeah. Absolutely. Gardner-Johnson, he is going to be a safety for the Bills. He's going to be the deep safety, and that's going to enable them to put Cole Bishop, maybe closer to the line of scrimmage a little bit. But they can play both those spots. Those guys can actually rotate. Gardner-Johnson has done some of his best work down in the box. He's a good blitzer. I don't know how many sacks he's got for his career, like 7 sacks. So he's been able to do that in the past. So they've got a little bit of flexibility with both of their deep safeties. Gardner-Johnson can also play in the slot. He's done that through his career. D. Alford is a smaller guy. D. Alford's going to be the guy that you want on the field when the opposition has 3 wides. If they put a tight end in the slot, you might see Jim Leonard bring Gardner-Johnson down into the slot because he's a 210-pound guy. He's definitely a bigger dude than D. Alford. So they've got some flexibility. Gardner-Johnson has done, he's actually played on the boundary a little bit too. I don't think he'll do that in Buffalo. I think those days are over. But like, to your point, he has done a little bit of everything. And what you got to like about him too, Adam, is he is a veteran guy. This guy has played in 13 playoff games in his career. He's played in 2 Super Bowls. He's won one of them. So he's got a track record. He's a veteran guy. He's a playmaker. I think he's got 20 interceptions in his career in only, I think it's 87 games that he's played. So he's the kind of safety that we relied upon back in the day with Micah Hyde. He was a ball hawk. Micah Hyde was the playmaker. Poyer was kind of that steady rock, always in the right place at the right time, would come down in the box to help against the run. But this guy is more like Micah Hyde. He can play that deep end, that deep cover, and make plays on the ball. And that's, I think, what the Bills are getting here.
Well, I want to accentuate a point that you made earlier as well, with the idea that the Bills were going to address the safety position in the draft. This is exactly on a 1-year deal, guy with a little bit of history, that sort of a thing, because this doesn't happen overnight, right? With a new defensive coordinator and a new philosophy and all of those things. But the idea of putting a rookie back there, you saw what they went through with Cole Bishop when he finally came around. They couldn't afford that. Now, I mean, I'm not saying they don't take a safety in the draft or whatever. If there's value and it makes sense or whatever for the long term, fine. But I agree with you. They needed to address this position with a veteran.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt they're going to pick a safety in the draft. I'd be shocked if they don't, because they got to have one. I mean, unless they Bleav that Jordan Hancock, who was a 5th-round pick last year, and, he showed a little bit but didn't really play much, unless they really think that he can develop into the future starting safety next to Cole Bishop, because I don't think Gardner-Johnson would be here more than the year probably, they got to pick one. And it's an ideal time to do it because you've got Gardner-Johnson here. Now, I'm not sure that he's the mentor type. Doesn't seem like he would be the mentor type, but he would definitely be a guy in the room and on the practice field that a rookie could learn from and maybe take some of those lessons forward to 2027. So I would think they are going to address safety at some point in the draft. And you've got a nice little buffer here with a guy like Gardner-Johnson to be your starter. Same at cornerback, right? I mean, they're going to have to do something at cornerback because they can't go into the year with just Max Hairston, who was injury prone, and Christian Benford. So I think they're going to probably sign a veteran free agent, a low tier deal. And it wouldn't shock me if they pick a corner in this draft, because they have really gotten thin at the cornerback position. They don't have much behind those 2 starters.
What about Gardner-Johnson's history? I mean, I touched on it briefly, but, I mean, what's your take on, what he brings to the table, what's happened connected to on the field and off and all of that stuff, and from a philosophical perspective, what this signals for you within the organization?
He's a guy that has definitely been a little bit of he's been a heavy weight for some of these teams. He's a mouthy guy, very confident in what he can do. And, just reading up on what he's been going through, he was surprised that twice that the Eagles let him walk. After the first Super Bowl, he ended up signing with it was the Lions, and he did not have a good experience in Detroit. In fact, I read somewhere he said it was hell. He said that year he spent with the Lions was hell. So they moved on. He ended up going back to Philly. They win the Super Bowl, and even after that, the Eagles moved on from him. So he signed with the Texans. That did not go well. He was not happy. They cut him after 3 games. I guess he hurt his knee in training camp last summer, played the first 3 games then because it wasn't as serious as they thought it might have been. And they just up and cut him. Went to the Ravens as the practice squad guy. Didn't work out there. So he lands with the Bears. And I didn't hear anything bad about his experience with the Bears. He ended up playing 10 games for them, went to the playoffs. But, of course, they moved on because he was on a 1-year deal. So he has definitely hopscotched around the league a bit. And you wonder, Sean McDermott, big culture guy that he was, you bring this guy into the mix. He is a fiery personality. But you know what, Adam? Maybe that's good for the Bills. Maybe the Bills need a guy like this because they really haven't had too many saucy guys in their locker room. Diggs would have been one of those guys. But maybe they need a little bit of injection of attitude on this team, especially on the defense. So Jim Leonard, don't really know much about his culture or what he's trying to build, but maybe this is a guy he was looking for. Give me a fiery leader. Will get under the skin of. So I know there's going to be some training camp scraps. There's going to be receivers that are going to get in this guy's face because he's a yapper. He is a nonstop yapper from what I've heard. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, a little injection of that might not be such a bad thing. It wasn't when Diggs got here initially, right? And again,
I mean,
1 year
as long as
deal.
he's not taking penalties, right? He's not doing dumb things on the field and taking penalties. That's fine if you're an aggressive, yappy kind of guy.
Right. 1 year deal. So, Diggs, I mean, obviously the impact was tremendous. And then it didn't wear well. He doesn't his extended stays don't wear well or whatever, but you're talking about a 1 year contract, which is the beauty of this, which is why it all makes sense when you put it all together. Let's touch on Bradley Chubb because that's the other big free agent signing.
Yep.
I mean, they needed to address the pass rush, and it's going to be a rotational type situation with him, but he's certainly a guy who can contribute.
Yeah, I mean, look, when originally when they announced the signing, I was a little bit meh about it. But looking at his season last year, he did play well. He came off the ACL injury, missed all of 2024, and he bounced back pretty well. I think he had 8.5 sacks last year at 48 pressures. He played all 17 games. The Bills certainly got their full of Bradley Chubb. He was great in the game that Miami won. He had 10 pressures, that season high, 10 pressures. He had a sack of Allen. I think he had a sack in the first game too, if I'm not mistaken. So the Bills got a pretty good look at him last year. Veteran guy. And what I like about the signing, this is definitely a Jim Leonard signing. He is exactly what they're looking for as a stand-up outside linebacker / edge rusher. They didn't really have that guy on the team. Well, Michael Hoyt probably is that guy, but we don't know for sure. Greg Rousseau was not that guy. He was a hand on the dirt 4-3 defensive end. So Chubb definitely fits what the defense is going to be. And now they've just got to train, Rousseau and probably Hoyt, probably Javon Solomon too, to be that stand-up, edge rusher linebacker. Chubb fits that role. He's only 29. He made the point yesterday in his, he did a Zoom call with us reporters. And, he's had 3 ACL injuries. One of them came in high school, one of them in Denver in 19. Then he had an ankle in Denver that he missed, I think, 10 games in 21, plus the ACL. So he's missed a lot of games. So he made the point, I don't have a lot of mileage on my tires, but what I will say is those tires are a little bit damaged. They may not have a lot of mileage, but they do have some damage. So the injury history will be a concern. And let's face facts, the Bills have had some bad luck with their big-time edge rushers getting hurt. Von Miller, of course, and then Joey Bosa. So let's hope that Bradley Chubb can break the streak there.
Well, you hope that they'll be on a new field, right, for the home games.
Yeah.
Which,
we'll see. We'll see if that matters. I don't know if that matters much at all. But look, the player is a good player. I think he turns 30, so he's not going to be 29 when the season starts. But I think he's going to be a good fit for them. He's also been, he's seen the Bills. He was talking about that yesterday. He has seen what this team can do, and he wants to be a part of it. He got tired of losing to the Bills. Quite frankly, he's like, I wanted to join them instead of try to beat them. Thrilled to be with Allen, he said. So I think it's a good move. I think and the price was a little bit more than I would have thought he would have gotten. But hey, in this day and age, Adam, you got to pay, and the Bills are going to pay.
Let's get to some familiar faces. Dawson Knox back on a reworked contract. And as you said, probably the most significant move they've made so far. I don't know that you can overstate that necessarily. Is center Conor McGovern. Getting him back. What it means for Josh Allen and what it means to maintaining some semblance of continuity on that offensive line, which has been so successful.
Yeah, McGovern is a terrific player. He hasn't given up a sack in 2 years, according to Pro Football Focus, right? So that's a good guy to have back. We talked about this the other day. It was going to be tough to lose both of them, so I'm glad that Bean made it a priority, found a way to do it. He got some help from McGovern, who admitted he probably could have gotten a bit more had he stayed on the market, but he loves Buffalo and he wanted to be here. So he came back. I'm not going to call it a hometown discount, but it was a little bit maybe. So I like that move a lot. Now it's going to be interesting what happens at guard. Alec Anderson re-signed, but I think Alec Anderson is a backup player. He could surprise us. Maybe now he's going to get the real opportunity to win a starting job, and maybe he'll surprise us. But I don't think that they want to go into the season thinking that's going to be the case. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do a low budget free agent signing here. I don't think you want to draft one, Adam. They've got enough guys, young guys in the pipeline. And maybe one of those guys will end up being the option. Maybe it's Chase Lunt or Grable. Who knows? But I would think one of his next moves might be signing a low budget veteran guard to at least come in, provide some competition, best man win, and see where it goes. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
So that and cornerback as you look forward.
Yeah, they've got to find a cornerback too. People are talking about Trey White coming back. I think I could see that happening. I mean, obviously Bean's got the connection with him, but I also think maybe this is the time to cut the cord, right? I mean, Trey gave you whatever it was, 8 or 9 years there. He was away for the one season. Maybe it's time to cut the cord, even though he played well. He was certainly a very, very nice signing for them last year. They're not going to come close to paying him what he made last year, which I think was $6 million. They can't do that. So if he wants to come back on a vet minimum deal or just a little bit more, okay, why not? But I think this new regime may want to look elsewhere to find a cornerback, because I think the Bills are going to play a little bit more man coverage this year, Adam, in this defense. And that really isn't Trey's thing. They need a guy who can play. Benford can obviously do that. And we think Max Harrison can do it because he was pretty good at that in college. They got to find a third corner who can be, a guy they can trust in man coverage. And I'm not quite sure that Trey White's the answer anymore in that particular area.
So let's sort of look ahead as we kind of wrap this particular edition of the show up here to maybe the draft here, what remains of free agency in the draft, obviously. And this is going to be, projecting, obviously, and highly, highly speculative as so much of this is. And it's a difficult question to answer specifically because we're still learning an awful lot about what Jim Leonard wants to do, right? But in terms of what might come in the draft or what they may look to add, the type of scheme, the attacking scheme he wants to execute and the way he wants to do it. Sal, in your best estimation, what do they have and what might they look to add or complement that with?
Well, I think now that we've seen some of the moves they've made in free agency and how they've addressed things, I still have to believe they need to get a defensive tackle, a run-stuffing defensive tackle. They really don't have that guy. They've got nice players in Ed Oliver. We don't know what TJ Sanders really is yet. Deion Walker had some splash plays, but there was a lot of inconsistency, although I think he's going to be a good player. And for a 4th-round pick, that might end up being a very good pick. But I still don't know that they have a true run-stuffing defensive tackle. And we talked about how I told you, I looked into Denver's defense, and they didn't really use that head up right over the center nose tackle. So they don't need that guy in particular, but they do need some girth in that front line. Mm-hmm. You remember, Daquan Jones was a 330-pound guy. So he wasn't a true nose tackle, but he was a guy who could hold up in the middle of the line. Walker is also 330, but the concern is that at 6'7", is he going to win those leverage battles on a down-to-down basis as a run stuffer? I asked Bean about it at the combine, and he said, Sal, we think he can do it. So I said, okay, you know more than me, we'll see. But I still think they need to address that particular spot. I don't think it would be in the first round, but we'll see. I think they're going to add one. And then edge rusher, Adam, it feels like they're okay at edge now that they have Chubb. The guys I've already mentioned before, how many do you need, right? I don't know that I'd spend a 1st-round pick on an edge rusher. Quite frankly, Adam, at this point right now, given what they've done, I think the best thing they can do is either pick the receiver or a linebacker in the first round. It's a great draft. It's a great draft for linebackers. I've heard Daniel Jeremiah say that. Bean has said that. So there's going to be depth. You could get a guy probably into the 3rd round which if they don't have a second round pick, maybe they have to wait that long. But Adam, if you like a guy in the first round, we hear this all the time. If you like the player, who cares what round it is? You go get the player. I think the best move they could make, because they've got the receiver in DJ Moore. You've got enough at that position. It'd be nice to add a guy, but maybe not a first rounder. Why not go linebacker? Right now, they're banking on Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams as their two inside linebackers in this defense. We know Bernard is small and he is injury prone. We know Dorian Williams is a freak of an athlete, but he couldn't cover you and I in a pass pattern. So I think they got to find a linebacker, a rookie that can come in. Maybe those two guys start early, but a rookie that can come in and eventually be their every down inside guy. There's a couple that are going to be available, I think, at that spot. That's what I would do if I'm the Bills. But
you've heard it
from
the Bills and others. It's a deep draft at linebacker. And with the philosophical shift and a new defensive coordinator in Leonard, it's going to be vital that he gets a young player that is, there's the word, aligned, right, with what he wants to do, so integral to the defense. That wouldn't shock me at all to have Leonard.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is my biggest surprise so far as we do this at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon. I really thought they were going to get a free agent linebacker. I'm surprised it wasn't Leo Chenal. I kind of had him on my radar the whole time, and he goes to the Commanders, but that didn't happen until like Wednesday night. So he was out there, he was available, and maybe it didn't work out because of what he ended up signing for. I thought for sure they were going to add one of these free agents, and they haven't done it yet. And again, there's still plenty of time. There's guys out there that could still probably fit this, but it just felt like they've already seen a couple of these inside linebackers go to other teams, and maybe they saw that and they've moved on, and maybe they are going to do it in the draft because they have the two guys right now on their roster who could start. So that's my biggest surprise, I think, of these first, it's been 2.5 days of signing period, 2 days of signing period, that they haven't gotten a linebacker in here.
All right. That's informed speculation as well from Sal Maiorana. So that's going to do it for this edition of Bleav in Bills. Again, we're going to be coming to you as moves take place. And, we're kind of not on a regular schedule, but really just immediately after they make the move. CJ Gardner-Johnson, obviously at safety, the most recent. That's to lead this particular segment. So there's more to come. We'll be with you for Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. I'm Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV, and FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show and others on the Bleav Network, again has the Buffalo Bills as favorites to regain the title in the AFC East over the New England Patriots, who stole it from them this year en route to an appearance in the Super Bowl. So for Sal, I'm Adam. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you soon here on Bleav in Bills, presented by FanDuel.